Hey, sister, before we start, I'd like to read a review that someone wrote on Apple Podcasts that really has touched my heart, as well as so many other reviews that have touched my heart. This one was pretty recent and it really spoke to me and really helped me actually a lot and encouraged me. It's called The Best Podcast by Evie Ree. This spoke to my soul. I have been in a rough patch with trying to devote time to personal Bible study, and this came up on my For You page. God thing? I think so. Thank you so much, and please continue more episodes out. They are loved by many more than just me. She put a little heart. Thank you so much, Evie. I truly appreciate your review. You have no idea how much this has encouraged my heart. When you leave reviews, sister, it does so many wonders for my heart and mind and soul. Seriously. When you're a podcaster, for those that haven't podcasted yet, because I know some of y'all want to podcast, okay? But for those that haven't podcasted yet, I'm going to tell you right now, podcasters are very lonely sometimes. Like, we're not lonely, but you know what I mean? Like, we're speaking into a microphone and we're like, is this working? Am I like making an impact? And I know that I get a lot of downloads. Thank you so much for so many listeners out there. My podcast is in the top 1.5%, continues to be in the top 1.5% and is still growing. Thank you so much for that, your support. But you still wonder. You're like, what's is this working? Like, is this doing what I wanted to do and supporting and making an impact? And so when I read podcast reviews like this, like on Apple, because this is where you can write them, oh, you have no idea how much it truly just affirms and helps me to keep going and helps me to keep going. Okay. So thank you so much, Every for your review and for so many sisters for leaving so many reviews. I am truly touched and I really want to continue to hear more from you all. I have 141 ratings so far and I am truly grateful. I want to hear more. I want to hear from every single one of you that listen to this podcast. Please write me a review and I would love to hear from you. Okay. I want to start reading these reviews once again on my podcast episodes. I used to read them. I took a little break. I don't know why, but I'm going to get back to it. Okay. I am so excited. All right. So today, this is the last episode of my Healing for Damaged Emotions series. And if you are new here, and this is your first time hearing this podcast, I am Rosie. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome. So this month, I decided to do this particular series. Why? Because healing is part of helping us to grow closer to God. When there are motivational obstacles, one of those is emotions, damaged emotions. And if you haven't heard the series, please go back to the beginning of August and hear them because it'll make a lot of sense. This last one will make a lot of sense. This one actually is talking about obstacles that will come through your healing journey that have come through mine, but that are temporary and can be easily overcome. Not easily, I'm not going to say super easily, but more easy when you rely on the Lord, definitely. But there are obstacles. So just a little heads up there. And also, I give you an invitation here at the end if you are interested in healing. It's something that I'm thinking about doing. So please stick to the end to find out more about that so that I can help you. Okay, my sister? All right. Are you ready? Let's do it. Are you so busy or overwhelmed that you can't get enough time to connect with God? Has your Bible study become stale, where by the end of the day, you've forgotten what you read? Do you want to dive deeper into God's Word? Are you desiring more confidence in teaching others about the Bible so that you too can make disciples of all nations? Welcome home, sister. In this podcast, you will learn to create an effective, impactful, and life-changing Bible study habit. You will get biblical encouragement and tips to keep you focused and motivated so that you can grow closer to God and hear from Him every day. Hey, sister, I'm Rosie, mom, wife, educator, master mindset coach, and devoted disciple of Jesus. Over the last 28 years of being a disciple of Christ, I've developed strategies that have helped me more confidently study my Bible, and I have helped many other women to come to Christ and grow in their faith. Sister, If you're tired of letting the enemy steal away your time, focus, confidence, and motivation, then this podcast is for you. So get ready to take back your time. I am back from Alaska. It was an amazing family vacation, and it was just so refreshing, really. I feel like when my dad saw me, my dad lives here in South Florida with me, so he's like, "You look like you're refreshed. You look peaceful. You look not stressed." And I'm like, "Really? Wow, that's so cool." Because, like, I don't know, right? And he hadn't seen me in a while, so I was like, wow, thank you. Because, sometimes you need these vacations, you need a getaway, you need something different. But I also feel like a part of that is just honestly going through this healing journey with the workbook that I've been doing. And really, I mentioned this a few episodes ago, the workbook called Healing for Damaged Emotions. And I did this work many years ago, and I was dealing with another emotional issue, which was trust back then. And then now even though I did all the chapters back then, and I did it in a year, and it was amazing, facilitated by an amazing woman of God, a friend of mine, and we did it in our church. And I went through it for like a whole year, once a month, and it was just super, like, it made a big difference. I also got a little counseling on the side during that time to address and to just kind of have a little, someone to talk to. And that was also helpful. But I feel like the book really was the key to the healing. Of course, counseling is always recommended for anybody and everybody. Literally, all of us need counseling with something. It's not even a stigma anymore. I hope that it's not a stigma for you. Counseling is a really good thing. Mental health counseling is a really good thing, or at least some mental health coaching. It is a really good thing for anybody. So just to give you a recap, I have been dealing with really anxiety, and I quote it, quote unquote, anxiety, because it's not that I have a diagnosed anxiety disorder. I've never been like diagnosed with it, although there was a session I did with a psychiatrist. She said maybe I had it. I do know for sure that I had postpartum anxiety when I gave birth to my daughter, who's now 5.5. And I know for sure because I was studying it, and I spoke to her about it. She's like, yeah, you definitely had it. And it was crazy, like crazy thoughts came in my mind, crazy fears. So like for a few months I did have that. So going through that was not easy. It was no fun. With this kind that I've been going through, more has to do with like stress and overwhelm, and just kind of like probably fears that are warranted to some degree, but worrying a little too much about the future, or letting my uncertainty overtake me, not relying on God like I normally would do, really putting things in prayer and expecting an answer from God through some way or another, because God does give us those answers, and he does hear us, as I mentioned in this last episode that I came here and did. And it, not really going, here, I'm giving you all this, God. So now I am changing that approach, and I am like, okay, God, I am surrendering this to you. Like, it has been such a great thing to do that. And it's a constant, like all the time, I constantly have to be doing that. But I will say this, the healing journey is not an easy journey, but it's worth it. So some obstacles that you can run across when you're getting counseling or healing, going through this book and or counseling, or both, is that things from the past will come up, because you have to bring them up. I mean, you have to know what where the problem stems from. A lot of people blame God for like the things, for like bad things happening in their lives and things like that, or blame God for different reasons. And maybe you don't, maybe you do it, and maybe you don't directly blame God, but I think in our hearts sometimes we don't realize, and we are blaming God for things. And we need to know that it is not God. God never does anything wrong to us. He cannot sin. He is good. He is just. There is nothing bad in him. Nothing. Zero. Zip. Okay, everything bad is from the enemy. So we can talk all about how the enemy works and all that. That's a whole other podcast. And I do mention some of those ways here in this podcast. I've been episodes about being careful of falling into temptation, how to know, and things like that. So, but just know that God is never our enemy. He is our friend. Jesus is our friend. He's our intercessor.
But sometimes, we think that it's a spiritual reason, or we try to heal ourselves only spiritually, only through the Bible, without additional help. And although that is the primary way, God is the primary source of healing, 100%. 100% I agree with that. Without God, I don't know that you could be really, truly healed. But I also believe that God has provided these other resources for us to help us with our healing journey, and other people to be there for us to help us with navigate these things. So I do believe that God provides these things, and that we need to take advantage of them. But some of the things that are difficult is that when you're opening up that quote unquote can of worms, right, where you're just like, whoa, my past, right? Oh man, you be ready to go through a roller coaster of emotions some days, because you may not even realize, like, you might be in a bad mood one day, or you might overreact with something that you never overreact to, or you might get angry more easily, because you're going through this process, and it's happened to me. It's happening to me as now, or more recently. I'm doing much better now, but more recently, and even when I did this a long time ago, oh my goodness, the can of worms was just like, wow. The worm, sorry for the description, guys, but like, seriously, it was just not easy. But once I got through it, and I had my sisters to support me, and that's why you need a group. It's so important to like have a community, or have one or two people there to support you and help you and be praying for you and with you. But once you get through it, it's amazing. But of course, expect that, because you're opening up this sort of wound, and no one wants to open up those old wounds. It's so much easier, at least in the short term, to ignore them, to put them aside. But in the long term, it is harmful, damaging, and even destructive for your relationship with God, and even your relationship with those you love. So that's why I really believe that in order to have a strong spiritual life, you have to address your emotional and mental needs, as well as physical needs. Something that my husband and I started doing recently is started eating better. Much less sugar, for me anyway, because I love sugar. Less carbs, like trying to eat better. And then of course, we're going to start an exercise regimen again in a couple of weeks. So I'm really excited about that, because physical also, affects you spiritually. Actually, it's so interesting. My husband did a sermon on this very topic just this last Sunday, and he doesn't like to call himself a Bible teacher just yet, but he kind of is. He has his master's in theology, and he just does an amazing job preaching and teaching at the same time. And really, shout out to him. He really does a great job, and he's gotten a lot of great feedback with this last sermon. And he talked exactly about this, like mind, body, spirit. It's all one. But anyway, so he did an amazing sermon, and it was really one of his best. And it's funny, because him and I have been talking about this, because I myself have been going through it with my emotional healing. So it is pivotal that you address this, but understand that you will have these obstacles of like the emotions kind of stirring. So that is one challenge, not a drawback. You have to go through it. It's not a drawback. It's just a challenge. You got to go through it if you want to heal. But taking that first step is so important, taking the first step of seeking, if it is an emotional or mental health problem, seeking help, if you're able to get it, or at minimum, find a trusted person to talk to, maybe get a mental health coach. I'm actually in the process of finding out if women want this kind of help, because I have facilitated this before with the emotional healing. And I'm thinking of doing it again sometime either in the fall, probably later in the fall, or maybe in the spring. So if you're interested in me starting a group like this to facilitate it, it would be completely confidential, but it would be online through Zoom, and it would be to help you heal emotionally going through that book. I would just be a facilitator. I am a certified mental health coach. I'm a certified mindset coach, and I do have my minor in psychology, but I'm no psychologist. So understand that I'm just be facilitating. If you're interested, by the way, let me know. Just write me at rosie@theintentionalchristianwoman.com, and I'm happy to get your email down and have you on a wait list. And yeah, or send you the link to my wait list, and I'm happy to do that for you. Like I said, I'm in the process of just seeing who might be interested in that, because I really want to hear you. I want to know if you might want that kind of help. Okay. And thank you for joining me. Just visit theintentionalchristianwoman.com for more details. You want to get to know me better. All the good stuff is in there. And of course, take a moment, please, to leave me a review. If you think I deserve 5 stars, leave a 5-star review either on Spotify or Apple. And then on Apple, you can also leave a written review if you'd like. That's only probably another 30 seconds. It really helps the show to be found. And also, I love reading my reviews. It is something that encourages me so much. All right, my sister, love you, and I'll see you on the next one.
If you like Mommy's show, leave her a review. Thank you.
Hey, sister. If this episode encouraged you in some way, then please go to Apple Podcasts and leave me a quick 30-second review. Not only do I love reading my reviews, it lights me up, encourages my heart so much to see that you're loving the show, but also it allows other people to find the show so that they can be encouraged just like you. And you also might be asking yourself, what is my next step after hearing this episode? Simple. Go to theintentionalchristianwoman.com. You'll find all kinds of goodness in there. And you can also connect with our community by going to bit.ly/let's be intentional. That's our amazing sisterhood free community on Facebook. I hope and pray you have an amazing rest of the week. Know that I love you. Know that I'm praying for you. And I will see you in the next one.